Hello, fellow science teachers. This is a video to just kind of walk you through some of the resources that I've created around Drawdown and Climate Action Now. So all of these are at rebeccanewburn.com. Also, just if there's some other resources I'd love just to share, which is I've created a seed lending library that was developed as a replicable model to share local seeds. So that can be found here at the Richmond Grove Seed Lending Library under Start a Library. The model's been used by hundreds of communities around the planet. There's now about 800 of them. We were the seventh seed library to open, but I created it as a replicable model, and that has gone fungal. Woo! Also, another project I do is 2 steps a month to community disaster preparedness. And so I do this with my 7th graders, where every month we walk through and do 2 things. And I'm really grateful that I've done that now because some of my students already have some processes in place for the current situation. Earth Care Education, I have not been as active on that for several years, but there are some nice resources there. And then doing a zero waste challenge is also something that I do. And we have 3 parts. One is single-use plastics. The second year is around food waste, and the third year is around the impacts of fast fashion. So let's get on to the climate change thing. And so basically go up to 6th grade units, oopsie daisy, 6th grade units, unit 3 climate crisis. And I know the numbers don't match, but it's linked somewhere in a publication, so I can't change the name of it, otherwise the link goes off. So unit 4 climate action plan. So basically each unit we have a task, and so this task is much more, authentic in terms of the kids are going to identify their family's carbon footprint and create an action plan to reduce their carbon footprint. And then together we come together to figure out how to build a movement to reverse global warming. So if you're not familiar with the book Drawdown, that is the inspiration for this unit. So there's a carbon calculator. We do the California one because we're based in California. And then they have this Drawdown action plan. And so each week we focus on a different aspect of climate solutions. And then the last week we come together and we figure out how can we come together and kind of amplify our voices. So, the kids can create a goal. And so they have carbon reduction goals, which is actually something that can be traceable to carbon emissions. And then there's more like what we're calling coolness points or advocacy points. So something that we can't really necessarily trace, like how much does it putting in a garden, how much does that make a difference? So, it's kind of more in a general category based on, value. I mean, it's somewhat arbitrary, but trying to say like this task has a little bit more impact than this task. So the numbers are a bit adjusted for that. And then on the bottom of this page are links to each of the weeks. So there's a water week, food and agriculture, zero waste, energy and emergency preparedness are the same. And then the last is build a movement. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the climate action plan, just to kind of show you what's there. And some of these, so this is a calculator that they have to do. And so they take that carbon calculator and then, get their initial data. And then, we revisit at the end when we're done. Let's see, for some reason this is not scrolling. Come on. Scroll. Oh, I'm buffering. And then you can kind of see here's water. And so the things that are gray are more advocacy points. So it's like a kid can't necessarily put in like a number 4 rainwater harvesting tanks, but they can encourage their parents to do it. And so if you've already done it, you would circle it here that you've done it, or if you plan to do it. So you might circle this, you might circle that. And the kids aren't going to necessarily circle everything. So it's just what are they committed to do? And so once again, I tell my kids, like, I don't really care how many points you get. It's really about what are you willing to actually take action on and why would that be important to you? So really kind of getting them to have some buy-in on the value of these actions. And then of course, so once again, there's points. So those are things that we can't really calculate a direct or an easy carbon equivalency on. And then there's the things that are actually pounds. So planting a tree, we can put more of a carbon number on that one. So kind of they basically do each week. So there's like the second week, food and agriculture, and then we go to, zero waste, kind of consumption patterns. And so what they're going to eventually do is take all that data and then put it back on the front sheet. Sorry, things are wonky here. And then, what were their kind of end goals? Now, let's go to the resources because that's kind of where the support is. And so, which each of those weekly units, there's an overview about, water and making people cognizant that their water footprints also have energy footprints as well associated with them. And then some kind of carbon facts, and then some videos that might kind of help them dive a little deeper. And then if they're doing advocacy, thinking about like, what is the action? What would be the reason you'd want to do this particular action? And then some resources to support them so that when they're going and having a conversation with their parents or their guardians, that they're really coming from that kind of claim evidence reason piece. So like, here's my claim. I think that we should put in some more natives, and this is my reasoning, and here's some evidence that supports my claim. So I think kind of how do we help support them in really continuing to build good science skills while also moving the climate conversation and solutions forward is kind of the thinking here. And then lastly, there is, so back to whatever, climate unit crisis, climate action plan. And then down to the bottom, so building a movement. And so this is, I think, where we need to come together and figure out. So each year they've kind of had an opportunity to brainstorm where they wanted to do it. Like one year, a group wanted to plant trees in a park. Another group, actually, we were working with the local municipality, and we were going to put in a kind of a display, one of those pieces that you see in parks with a basically sea level rise indicator, and also draw attention to the habitats of 3 endangered species that were in that habitat. So, it can be really small, like planting trees in a local park, to, coordinating with a local Parks and Recs department to kind of put in more of a permanent installation in a park. Sadly, we were not able to fundraise during the school year. And then, of course, I don't have the kids next year. But we did have everything approved. Okay, but thinking about what you can do. And so once again, this is just, I would love to get more teachers in on this and having a conversation of how to amplify this. So I will put a link to my information and really wanting to create a cohort of people to, people are learning from home, like how do we take this opportunity to really make climate a class at home and really accelerate and amplify our response and adaptation strategies. I also, like I said, I do seed library work, and we are looking at breeding projects. We're looking at how do we save biodiversity. We're doing some piloting here in California around testing the genetics of a particular bean that's been grown by a UC Davis professor to see if we can actually track climate adaptation. So super excited to have conversations with other science teachers and scientists and the community in general about those as well. Okay, take care and take good care of yourselves as well.